How it started. And, well, just about everybody is paying attention. You know, you can tell that a lot of people are tuned in to this, what I would consider to be a circus. Yeah, pure spectacle in nature. Well, it's not like we haven't seen these before. We've seen these theatrics, spectacles, circuses before. I mean, it repeats itself invariably. It always does. You usually have, well, the ringleader of the circus. And, well, the ringleader, well, it corrals everybody else up. It gets everybody jittery and going. And then you have, well, the festival goers, the people that come to the show, that watch. And there's always a lot of spectators that like to do a lot of yapping, you know, give their commentary, give their perspective, throw in their 2 cents, if you will. And then, well, you have the actual thing that people come to see, and the ringleader is, well, in charge of. You have the actors, the actual participants in the whole thing. And, well, you've only got one participant in this whole thing, for now. But I'm sure as time goes on, there'll be more participants to show up. But the participant that everybody is watching is, well, that person's name is Derek Chauvin. You know, the Minneapolis police officer that murdered George Floyd. We can't say that it was murder. There's no disputing it in anyone's mind, really. It's like just a tit for tat where you have to present your argument, but your argument isn't based off of anything. Everybody knows what happened. No, that's not in doubt. What's in doubt is the conclusion. What's in doubt is how it ends. That's the juicy part. And the participant, well, did they get to speak or not? We'll see. We shall see. That's going to be the interesting thing. Does Derek Chauvin takes the stand? Does he want to render himself a defense? I'd love to hear it. What could be the defense for the state? I mean, the state is on trial here. The state murdered a man. And, well, we, the citizenry, well, we pay our taxes to the state. We have to do everything that the state tells us to do. And we ought to hear the state's defense in this case. They killed a lawful, well, it wasn't determined whether he was lawful or unlawful because he didn't get his day in court. You know, you're innocent until proven guilty. Well, accordingly, George Floyd was innocent until proven guilty. But seeing as he never got his day in court, well, he was judge, jury, and executioner, the state, the officer, Derek Chauvin. So we ought to hear him take the stand and hear what the state's defense is. Was it, oh, well, did he fear for his life? You know, that's the usual scam answer that they give. Well, it wasn't a split-second decision because, well, it took 9 minutes and 22 seconds or 27 seconds or 8 minutes and 46 seconds to kill him. And so it wasn't a split second. There were thousands of seconds involved. So I'm really curious what the state's defense is. Well, you know, everybody's paying attention. And everybody is not necessarily worried about the trial itself. They're worried about the verdict and what happens thereafter. Well, let me just lay out some scenarios again for you, but in detail this time around, because we got to talk about an angle that I didn't talk about the first time. I forgot it. I'm like getting senile, you know. I'm old. I'm almost ready to go, so you know how it is. But I forgot to neglect that while I'm old, there's a lot of young people, and you know, they're upset. This disaffectment, this resentment in our society, well, it's prevalent amongst the youth. The youth a lot more, well, angry. And they have reason to be. They've watched old people, old adults, not take any accountability or responsibility for their action. And they inherited a society of greed, of selfishness, of rampant wars, of rampant poverty. And they're sort of like asking, why is it like this? And nobody really has a legitimate answer for them. So, rightfully so, they're upset and they want to make change. And so, I neglected to tell you what their reaction is going to be based off of the verdict. You know, I'm getting old, getting tired. But I wanted to come back and just let you know what their reaction is going to be based off of the verdict. So then you have it on record. It's there. So if I'm not around, well, you heard it from me first. I broke the news before anybody else did. Well, see, if the state lets Chauvin off, well, what does that say about the state, first and foremost? Well, it says that the state, well, they don't follow the rules. They don't play by the same rules as you and everybody else has to play by. So the citizenry is going to go, well, if law enforcement doesn't follow the laws, why should I follow the laws? You know, crime is actually down. Nobody commits crimes anymore. They talk about there's crime. No, there's not crime. I know crime. I remember crime. There's not crime. There's stupidity. There's desperation. There's ridiculousness. There's not thoughtfulness. All of those things exist. And I'm not trying to minimize those things. I'm not trying to minimize those things at all. But there's no crime. Crime, you see, is when you're a hardened criminal. And you know what you're doing. And you willfully do it. And you don't care about the repercussions. That's when you're a criminal. Because you know the law. See, criminals know the law better than most law-abiding people. That's what they don't tell you. And if you choose to be a criminal, well, you know the law, and you break the law, well, you're either choosing to get away with it or suffer the consequences if you get caught. Well, that's the difference between a criminal and supposedly law enforcement. Let's see here, if the state lets off Derek Chauvin, who is the chief operator of the state and enforcer of the law, well, all bets are off. Now you don't have just criminals feeling, well, they can get away with the law without being lawful. Well, now you have the average person that's been lawful their whole entire life. And now they see that law enforcement doesn't abide by their own laws. You know, the golden rule, thou shalt not kill. You know, if the citizenry now sees that law enforcement doesn't abide by their own rules, well, the citizenry isn't going to abide by the rules anymore either. And that's where you get lawlessness. And that's what it's going to be. Pure, unadulterated lawlessness. And why would it be anything else? There is no more laws anymore. If the law enforcers can get away with murdering, then, well, the citizenry, they'll do it themselves. And therein lies the problem. Because there's lawlessness. And who do you bring in to enforce laws and order again? Well, you can't bring in the same people that the citizenry saw that were lawless. No, it won't be the police. It'll be the military. It'll be the institution that people still have a little bit of respect for. But see, that's a problem when you have the military enforcing their own citizenry. Because, well, the people are removed from the military. They have goodwill and good thoughts about the military. But they've never been under military occupation. And being under military occupation is very, very different than, well, your thoughts about the military protecting and serving thousands of miles away from your shores. See, these brings up difficult questions that an empire has never faced before. You see, it's a real simple choice. Derek Chauvin, well, casting him away, tossing him in the garbage heaps of history, that's an easy choice for the money. See, they don't want to lose any more money. So that might be the route that they go. That's definitely the route that they're pulling for. But you know, it's a jury. It's a jury. And you never know what a jury is going to do. And all it takes is one juror to hang the jury. And you know, it's highly possible. You know, the reason it's highly possible is because you have such a thing as racism. Racism is real. People don't want to admit it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to skirt around the issue. But it's real. And see, if Derek Chauvin gets let off the hook, all the kids are going to know why. See, kids are not like their parents. Parents don't want to talk about why they're like that. Parents don't want to say that they're sick to their kids. They want to put on a mask and say, oh, I'm normal, honey. This is how we operate. This is normal. But see, kids don't wear masks. They don't need masks. They see the truth. And see, if Derek Chauvin gets off and kids say, oh, I wonder why he got off. And another kid tells him, you know why he got off. And the kid goes, I don't know why he got off. And the other kid says, well, what color was his skin? And the kid goes, I think he identifies as white. And the other kid goes, don't they always get off for what they do? See, that's all it's going to take to set it off, to set the matches off. You want to know what the kids are going to do if Derek Chauvin gets put off or gets off this thing? Well, how many fire extinguishers do you have? How much water is in a city? You know, those are going to be good questions to find out, because I recommend there's going to be a lot of smoke and ashes and heaps of smoke and fire. You know, alarms and bells going off, buildings being run out of. You know, it's going to get bad. It's going to get really, really bad. And you know why? Well, it's the state's fault. So the fault will be on the state and racism. And, well, the verdict is in. America is burning.